Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to be here today with our local Commonwealth's attorney, 19th Circuit Commonwealth attorney, Johnathan and our Mason County Sheriff, Ryan Swolsky. And this is, August is Overdose Awareness Month. And I'm sure that almost everyone, without exception, has had that issue or problem come up in your family or someone that you love. And I know that I have. My wife has, and her family as well. And we're going to take a few moments in this video, and it will be posted to the Commonwealth's attorney page, as well as the Mason County Sheriff's Office page on social media. And we're going to take a few moments, and we're going to let our Commonwealth attorney talk about what that means and what that looks like from his office and perspective, and some resources that's available, as well as the sheriff from his perspective. I'm very thankful for the work that they do, most of which is unseen. So, Johnathan?
Pastor, thank you for having us on here. Sheriff, good to be here with you.
Yes.
I would say that from my perspective, there's no single issue that's bigger in terms of family impact, in terms of volume, and in terms of physical impact than the issue of drug addiction and drug abuse. And of course, we see it in our office at a felony level. We see it removed after the sheriff's office, after the police department, after the various agencies, state police, etc., do the arrest, work the cases up through district court. So we see it a little removed, but nonetheless, it's a huge problem. It constitutes the bulk of my docket, and glad to be here with you to talk about overdose in particular, but not just overdoses, just the overall drug problem.
Amen.
Yeah, Pastor, I appreciate you having me on, Johnathan. And like he said, he's seeing it at the court level. We're seeing it on the street level, and it takes up much of our resources, combating this epidemic, this disease, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So that said, what I hope to do is inform the public of what we're doing. I've got some stats kind of highlighting that, and then hopefully we can talk about some options to get help. I mean, that's what we both want to see is people overcome this.
And I think all three of us bring a unique perspective. I pastor a church of around 100 people, and we have tonight, for example, we're having a testimony service where people will begin to testify about the side that God plays in this. And God is very much redemptive. We have watched it over and over again. I want to tell you a very quick scenario that happened to me personally. I heard that someone in town was giving away Narcan, and they were wanting people to put it in their vehicles, keep it in their offices, homes, etc. And my initial response in my mind was, man, I'm not going to do that. You know, what if I do something wrong and it actually has an adverse reaction on those that may be overdosed? And the more that I thought about it and I prayed about it, I'm like, I'm going to keep Narcan in my vehicle just in case that I could potentially help save someone's life. So my brother, unless something has changed in the last week or so, is still in a rehab. My younger brother and my wife's brother is going through drug court actually here in Mason County, and he may be getting close, may be finished, but I'm very thankful for every available resource. And I think that in this mix, and we hope to develop something a little more into this, that we can encourage or at least bring God into the recovery process. And I've watched God redeem so many folks from drugs.
Well, even when Narcan first came out, even police officers were hesitant to carry it because of the same reasons that you had. But now we all carry it. We have it in our office, and we've seen the value of that. I truly think in 2023 there was a 10% reduction in overdoses in Kentucky. 2024, a 30% reduction. I think one of the main reasons that we've seen that is because Narcan's becoming more prevalent and it's more available. So yeah, I mean, again, that to me is one of the major reasons we're seeing that.
Very good.
Yeah, the sheriff is exactly right, and I think that that's a large measure due to our public safety agencies. You know, they're very quick on the draw to help people with Narcan, and they're out saving lives. But we still have to keep in mind we're still seeing almost 2,000 deaths in Kentucky annually due to overdoses.
Wow, that's a lot of deaths. And if we can prevent just one, you know, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Johnathan, what do you think is, from your perspective, one of the number one ways to let people understand that there is help and that they can overcome this?
I think I would say this. There are a host of agencies and organizations around Kentucky that offer help. The challenge is getting people to avail themselves of that, because people who are in addiction, they don't recognize, or they can't overcome the fact that they have a problem in order to get treatment. It's one of the most unusual diseases that I know of, in that someone is terribly afflicted, but they will not get the help they need. So I think the step number one is understanding there are resources. There are treatment agencies, whether that's inpatient or outpatient. There's a host of different treatment models to include medically assisted or complete abstinence. But the challenge is getting those individuals to accept you have a problem, and more than just you have a problem, you're going to get the treatment that you need for this problem.
You both had made mention that about the drug epidemic being, or referring to it as, a disease. And I think maybe there's some confusion about the terminology when it pertains to drug addiction. Maybe you all can go into that a little bit more. And is it labeled a disease? Is it?
I think it is clinically. I think that's how I would approach it. But it's also a choice. And unfortunately, people who are in addiction, they make lots of other choices other than just using. I mean, that we penalize use of drugs and possession of drugs pretty lightly in Kentucky, I would say. But what we also run into in my office, in the sheriff's office, is we see people who are out committing other crimes. So just because you have this disease doesn't mean you get a pass on your other crimes. You know, you have to be accountable for those, and you have to answer to the justice system for those other things you do.
So I'm sure, Sheriff, that a lot of the crimes committed, other than even beyond just drug possession, but a lot of the burglaries and thievery, etc., is probably because of drugs.
Absolutely. Definitely theft, which is, that's probably one of our most highest, if we're talking about the types of, incidents we're working, theft takes the top of the list. Since I took office, just to show you kind of how prevalent the drug problem is, we've made 145 drug-related arrests. So to put that in perspective, that's every, I think, 2.5 days. That's arresting somebody for a drug-related crime.
In Mason County?
In Mason County.
Wow.
Just for the Mason County Sheriff's Office. That doesn't include the Mason Police Department. Drugs are involved in, I would say, the majority of the other crimes we're working as well. And I would even include alcohol as a drug.
Sure.
Because it is, simply.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I can confidently say that.
And I think that the forgotten ones are the kids that, sure. I know that you've adopted several children. I don't know their backgrounds or what they came from, but we've seen it in our church and beyond our church that there are so many kids being displaced. The need for foster parents is out of it's out the roof. So maybe you can speak to that. You've got an extensive background because of your work with CASA and adoption.
I do, and we've been blessed. We adopted 3 kids, as Pastor said, and they're some of the greatest joys in our life. We were fortunate. The kids that we adopted did not come from families that were battling drug addiction, but it is a huge problem here in the Commonwealth. And I would say it's not just a problem for their physical safety, but it's a problem for their mental safety, and it's a problem for their developmental growth, because there are years that they spend in families with active addiction, and it stymies their growth and it stymies their ultimate potential. And so I really worry what we're going to see over the next 20 years, given the explosion of really harmful drugs that we've seen over the past couple of decades. What's going to happen when these kids grow up?
And just one thing that I want to highlight is, of course, we want to get the number down to 0, right?
It's the goal.
But the trends are looking good.
Yeah.
Again, in 2023, overdoses went down 10%, 2024, 30%. In 2022, Mason County had 18 overdoses reported. In 2023, less than 5. In 2024, less than 5.
Wonderful.
So looking at the data, we're doing something right. But again, personally, I believe this is a spiritual battle, and this is going to be a battle that we're going to fight until the end.
Right.
But I think, again, I want to look at the positives. I think we are moving in the right direction, not only as a state, but as a county.
Yeah.
Good.
I agree
That's
with
great.
that. And I think part of that is one of the things that we've seen an increased acceptance of people getting treatment.
Yes.
People getting, number one, they have to have accountability, because let's face it, no one's going to go and get treatment if they're not being required to do so. But I think when they're required to do so, we see a lot of success with drug treatment.
Speaking of that, maybe you can speak about Casey's Law.
Mm-hmm. Well, Casey's Law is not something our office deals with, so I would encourage you to maybe look at having Claire Estel or John Estel, someone from their office, come in here from the Mason County Attorney's Office and speak to that, because I know that's something that they handle. But I have had experience over the years working Casey's Law, and just briefly, that's a law that you can use, that you can petition to courts if you have a loved one that is in addiction, that is a danger to themselves or others, and you can petition the district court judge. And if you show enough evidence to that district court judge to convince them that they're addicted to a harmful substance and that they're a danger to themselves or others, then that judge can order that they get treatment. And if they don't get treatment because the judge has ordered it, then they can be subject to the judge's contempt powers. So it is a good way to sort of box someone up and to try to get them to get help. It's like any solution. It's not airtight. There's nothing that we do is 100%. But I think it is a great tool that families can use to try to get someone that's either a loved one or even a friend treatment that they need.
Right.
And there's a couple of other resources out there that I've noted. There's the Kentucky Help Call Center, where you can call if you're struggling with addiction, and it's staffed 24/7. You can call this number and receive support and treatment. There's also the Kentucky State Police Angel Initiative, where if you are struggling with substance abuse disorder, you can walk into any Kentucky State Police post and they will get you help. They will find help for you. And I'd also open that up to the Mason County Sheriff's Office. If anybody's struggling in Mason County with anything related to substance abuse, or your family member is, come into our office, and I'm gonna work with Johnathan Gay, and we're gonna try to, in the Mason County Attorney's Office, and we're all gonna try to find you help. That is our goal. Our goal is not to lock people up.
Yeah.
Now, we want to lock up drug traffickers.
Sure.
We're gonna do that. We're not gonna stop. But our goal is to get these people help.
Yep. And from a spiritual perspective, I've seen the very thing that he was referring to, that a lot of times people have this thought in their mind that if I go and admit that I need help, then what are people going to think of me? And we've tried to foster an environment and culture at our church that if someone's struggling with anything, whether it be drug addiction or else, hey, come and ask. This is a judgment-free zone. We're not here to lock you up like the sheriff was talking about, but we're here to help and to guide and to be a resource, not just a resource, but maybe the better way to put that is a lifeline. So if there's any closing remarks, you're free to give them. I think this has been a great interview, and I'm so thankful for both of you being here today.
I would just encourage viewers to go to our Facebook page, Commonwealth's Attorney Johnathan Gay. And one of the things that we do, Pastor, that is probably the most popular thing that I do is I post a weekly series called Motivational Mondays.
They're great.
And what I do is I take someone who has fought this fight, and I allow them to tell their story in their own words. And oftentimes pictures speak louder than words, especially on social media. And you can see the transformation that these folks have had. I can't vouch for any of their future, but I can tell you right now, as of today, everyone that we profiled on that series is doing much better than they were 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's a great tool, I think, for families to go in and see. And I would encourage families also to think about organizations like Crosspoint and Redeemed Outreach Church that have welcoming programs for those in addiction, because the people who have come through those struggles and are often highly involved in both of those churches, they can speak maybe in a way that neither of us can. So I would absolutely encourage families to seek out someone like them or someone else in the community that has overcome this affliction.
Awesome. Very good. Sheriff?
I just want to say, working drug cases is hard work, and it takes a lot of time and resources. I would venture to guess that 90% of our drug cases are successful by cooperating with the public, by our community being vigilant and knowing what's going on next door, across the street, and working with us to investigate these problem areas. So we encourage the public, if you see something suspicious, please call us. We're also using Tip 411, where you can anonymously send us information related to anything going on in the county, but we're specifically wanting people to reach out if they see any evidence of drug trafficking. That could look like cars pulling up at a specific residence for a couple minutes and then leaving. People walking into a house throughout the night for several minutes at a time and then leaving. Again, we're just asking for the community's help, and through that we find success, and we can continue to be successful.
That's awesome. Thank you both again for being
Thank
here.
you.
It is an honor to be standing in between both of you, public servants. And thank you for watching, and share this video, get it out to someone that may need to see it. And we hope that you have a blessed day. God bless you.